Welcome to FMLthoughts, a podcast about thoughts on Football Manager. And today I'm joined by GasheadGaming. Hello.
Hello, good morning, or afternoon, or evening, whoever's listening.
Covering all bases there, lovely. So Gashead used to be a Football Manager streamer, but he's on a bit of a break. But you may know him from being in lots of different Football Manager chats and generally being in and around the community. So it's a pleasure to talk to you today.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So first question, as often is the case, is tell us about your save. How are you getting on? What has been your main save that's occupied you this Football Manager?
Well, it took me a while to find save, but I finally said, as you all know, Jay, I'm a bit of a history nerd outside of football, so I quite like looking into the histories of football clubs, and I actually ended up settling on Notts County, being one of the oldest football clubs in England, and it was a Road to Glory save. It went really well. It was going really, really well. We flew up the leagues, wheeling and dealing our way round. We got to the Premier League, and we hit a bit of a rocky patch. And there's so many thoughts on this. I've been talking with you all the way through it, but hit a bit of a rocky patch, and it just kind of got stuck in that rut where our rep hadn't sped up enough that we could buy the top dogs to get us into Europe. So we were safely like mid-table for about 4 seasons, and we didn't have the rep or the money to go buy either the top established players or like your top wonder kids, if you like, your Mokokos of the world, to try and push us up and develop us into a European team. So it just went a little bit stale, and something like what I've not told you, I've not told anyone else actually. I've just actually decided to move clubs within the same world, which I do believe you want to talk about, which is Royal Union Saint-Gilloise. I probably butchered the pronunciation. I've literally just moved. So, again, same as Notts County, looking into the history of it. They've won titles, I think, I've forgotten the exact number now. 6 or 7, I think, roughly around that figure. They haven't won one since about like 1920, since around about the First World War. So it's, again, my kind of save of picking that kind of real historic team, dragging them back up to the top of their nation, if you like.
Wow, excellent. I love those kind of facts. I mean, one of the ones that I always tell people about, because I don't understand why more people don't do it, is kind of like a similar one of like Preston North End, because they used to dominate everything. Like, they went invincible. They were the original Invincibles, and they are the only team to win the Premier League and to win the old First Division, and have never even been in the Premier League. So like, there is something really exciting, isn't there, about taking those clubs that had that success in the 19th century or the early part of the 20th century, because it's not like building a fallen giant, because like you're having to excavate that giant. Like, that is a long way back, and I'm getting a sense that that's the kind of the same thing here with this club.
Yeah, it is that kind of, I do like that fallen giant vibe. I mean, I'm not the best person to talk about that, James. I think, to be honest, you're the more qualified on fallen giants with your recent exploits at Hamburg. But you fire away. You tell us about saving fallen giants and historic clubs.
All right.
How's it going for you?
That's thank you for the question. You've given us a lovely précis of your save, and I want to dive a little bit more into that. But I'm very happy to kind of also give an update from my end. So yeah, we had the Food Journeyman. I think one of the interesting things here is that we've come at this from 2 completely different perspectives, but I think we've probably ended up in a very similar place, which is I'm on a journeyman, doing a journey save. Started with Fisher FC, went to Pros and Pitsy, went all over the place, and then I ended up at Hamburg. I ended up there for a long time, like more than I ever intended. So 5 seasons, which is what I was speaking about in the previous episode with Alice. And so it really felt like we weren't getting anywhere, and it got really stale. And then we've moved clubs finally after those 5 years, because I just got fed up. I just said, that's it. Enough is enough. I'm sick of it here. I don't think it's a failure to move on, even though we haven't won the league or anything like that. But what I did do was wait till the end of the season. In that case, applied for a job at Dundee United, because Scotland is actually really fun in this world. It's been loaded for a while, and Rangers have fallen off a little bit. Celtic are good, but they don't feel unstoppable. And Dundee United have recently won the Conference League. They've won the Premier Sports Cup, so they are pretty well established. And Kilmarnock have had a takeover and have won the league recently. So it kind of feels a lot less like Rangers and Celtic just whipping everybody around, and more like, you know, Celtic are like the dominant club, kind of like Man City, but then you've got a few different clubs that are fighting it out for like second, third, fourth, and your Hearts and Midlothian and all that are in and around there as well, Hibs. So I'm really enjoying that move actually of going to Dundee, changing clubs, having a fresh start, and even though when I thought I was moving to one of these top sort of 40s in Scotland, I did find out that they had completely and utterly cocked up in the previous season, and most of their first team was on loan. They were in financial crisis. Their good players wanted to leave. The rest of their players were geriatrics, and then they had some reasonably good potential 12-year-olds that weren't ready to be in the first team. So it's been fun, but it's been a completely different challenge from what I imagine is similar to what you were experiencing in Notts County with Hamburg, where every season you're trying to make those iterative changes, you're trying to bring in those players, but you can't quite pay the money for the elite players, or they don't want to come in, so you're going for the ones down, and then they want to be treated as a stepping stone, and they kick off, and when they can't move to PSG, and that kind of grind of season after season, you're not sure you feel like you're going anywhere.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, Notts County was there. I think we had 4 seasons in the Premier League when I was with them, and we had every season was like a rebuild. Because I'll be the first to hold my hands up. I signed some duds, but you get some kind of youngsters in. You think, oh yeah, they'll develop into something good, because we can't sign the best. We can't sign the top one, the kids that are nailed on and develop in. Then 4 years and we were kind of in the region of 13th to 17th, 13th to 16th. I don't think we were ever really in a relegation fight, and it just got a little bit boring and a little bit stale and a bit grindy. Sounds like you had a similar kind of thing with Hamburg in the end, but yeah, that moving on and kind of keeping things moving within the same world is really good fun.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I'm always an advocate for moving on in the game world. People start new saves, and we talk about RDF is always the person that people joke about. Because he seems to start a new save every week. But yeah, some people like to work with the real players, and they like to start new saves at the current date. Personally, I much prefer moving in the game world itself, and then you kind of you see the landscape you've taken with you, and you will always look back and see, oh, there's Notts County, they're a Premier League team, I did that. As someone who, I get a sense that you certainly were at the start of FM, where you were struggling to land on a save, you were starting a few different things. How are you feeling now that you've moved, but you're still, presumably something like 10 years in the future? How is that feeling for you?
The honest answer is I haven't quite made my mind up yet. I think it's one thing I've realised in the last few weeks. I'm still learning about myself as an FM player and how I interact and get the most out of the game. It's a slight digression, but in terms of like developing players, your hardcore FM purists, they will say, sign your 18, 19-year-olds, develop them into superstars, sell them on for big money, or they'll take you to the next level. It's not for me. I don't like waiting 3-4 years. I'm probably the most shallow FM player you will ever find. I want success and I want it now. That's where I get my fun from. In terms of like going back to your question a little bit, kind of, do I want to stay in the same world when a save idea goes? I like that idea exactly like you said, seeing how Notts County will progress with those players using AI. I'm quite intrigued in the next transfer window where they just flog them all for like as much money as possible. But yeah, I'm leaning more towards the side of staying within the same world and seeing how the old team gets on. That is kind of a nice little perk. However, I do find it makes the game harder for me because I don't know the players by IRL standards, if that makes sense. And like going back to that shallow FM part of me, it doesn't sit great with me, but I am looking forward to carrying on this save, seeing what I could do with the new club and with Notts County, because it's going back to one of your podcasts actually, when I was listening to the FM Girl episode, that whole idea of fix, I've saved this new save file under a different name. So I've still got the Notts County one there if I ever want to go back to it. I saved it under Fixer because I was driving home from Bristol listening to that episode, and I was listening to what you and F and Girl was saying, and I was going, I like that idea. I like that idea of fixing kind of historic clubs or clubs that have fallen off within the save file. And that's what I think I'm trying to do with this save. So a kind of fixer save after a road to glory in the same world, if that makes sense.
There's so many things there to kind of ask in terms of follow-up questions. I mean, for me, it's really interesting. I try to follow real life football. Do have a club. I do watch games, but like I'm not one of these people that has an encyclopedic knowledge of, even like Premier League teams. I do get that sense with you that you have that, and so that might give you a little bit of an edge, particularly following. You kind of follow a Premier League club, but you also kind of follow a League One club, so you've kind of got like a good breadth there as well of players that you know. So that's like it's really interesting to hear that like that is something that you're going to miss in the future, because that information is useless to you. If you know a good young player, they probably retired now, or at least they're going to be close to. I suppose the flip side of that is the theme really of what you've talked about there is enjoying the game, right? Like, there's no doubt you could have won the Premier League with Notts County, but it would have taken you a long time probably, and it wasn't something you were enjoying, so you moved on. For me, I wasn't necessarily a player that like wanted lots and lots of glory, but having done a journeyman and almost won a trophy in a season with each of these clubs, like strategically picking clubs that could easily win trophies, winning a trophy and moving on, I found it so difficult to have that 5 years without seeming like you're even getting close to winning anything, and you're sort of like, what's the point? And I suppose, is that a similar feeling to going up the leagues and seeing success, and then nothing, and then you have to kind of check yourself and go, this is supposed to be a game, it's supposed to be fun, I'm not enjoying it anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, thinking back to like previous FMs with like old saves I had, so I mean, not going to go into too much detail, but last FM I was with Belenenses in Portugal, so they were fourth too? I think they're in the lowest playable league in Portugal, and the idea was a road to glory save with them. We shot all the way up to the top league, and within 3 years we'd won it. 3 years, 2-3 years, we'd won the top league. So I never really had that kind of stagnant period, so I think I've been lucky on that front. Year before that was Auxerre, and we very quickly shot up to European places from second division. And then that was quite fun because the rep was like sky high. You could buy kind of like your second tier players in the world. So I've never really had the problem I've had with Notts County this year. So it's very much a new experience for me. But yeah, it does go back to just enjoying the game. And I've learned this FM that stagnation period, if it lasts more than 3 years, if it gets to about 3-4 years and nothing really changes, I start to get bored of it, because I am a glory hunter. I like success. I like winning. So
hang on. Tell us again what Gashead stands for.
What Gashead stands for?
Yeah. Sorry, you said you were a glory hunter.
Yeah.
I'm not
But
sure.
not in IRL with my teams, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
You don't get much glory with Bristol Rovers.
I was gonna say.
Which is my team. That is what Gashead stands for those of you that don't know. But yeah, in FM, I'm a massive glory hunter, and in real life, I'm a glutton for punishment. There we go.
Brilliant. No, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense because it's something that for me comes up as a theme a lot as the game develops and progresses and gets more complicated. To do a whole season really well takes time, and actually, like, if you want success, there's only so many trophies you can win. There's so many teams. It takes a week to do a season, or at least a whole solid day of just FM, probably two. People don't have that time necessarily. Like, if you want to win trophies, like, it's a bit of a monster. It's a bit of a monster, and it can I think drag you down.
100%. I mean, I was talking just before I probably should have left the Notts County save, carried on a little bit longer, because I was talking to you about the last pre-season I did. I think I'm trying to tot it up in my head now, roughly. I would say I spent about 20 hours on the last pre-season I did, and then within like 4 or 5 games, I was bottom of the league with 2 points after 5 games, and I'm just there going, oh my God. Like, I was getting worse, and I was spending more time. I was trying to think about it more. That was kind of like the final straw, because I was just so demoralized with it. I was like, I just give up. Give up.
You spend those 20 seasons preparing and thinking this is the year, and then it kicks you. That was definitely how it felt with Hamburg. It was like, this is the year. We've got some bright young players. We've sold one, but we've got some money in, and then every year you start to realize it's not the year, and you're just like, okay, well, now I've got to play through a whole season knowing that realistically I'm going to be mid-table. I mean, at least in England you do have a few different cups to go for. It's interesting, isn't it, that in real life they say, oh, we should get rid of the League Cup or whatever else, and in Germany they just have the League and the Pokal, and it sucks, right? Like, you get knocked out of the German Cup early and you're never going to win the league because of Bayern. Like, there should be another cup in Germany. That's my hot take. There should be a third cup. There should be a third opportunity to win silverware, because let's be honest, you know, Bayern Munich are going to win the league every year, so that means there's only the Pokal, and you get knocked out very quick, and then you're just playing for fourth, I guess. Like, it's not that great.
Yeah, you get some nations. I mean, France only got one cup. France is probably another example, isn't it? They only got one cup.
I think a lot of them only have one cup, actually.
Yeah.
But Scotland has got two, which is one of the reasons I'm quite excited, because if I can get into the Conference League, that's like 4 chances of silverware, which is pretty exciting.
I think the thing is with Scotland, I mean, again, if you're however far you're in with Dundee United, you might be able to tell us more about this. But like, their second cup is like pre-season, isn't it? It's like it kind of replaces pre-season friendlies. Is that right?
Yeah, so it has like a group stage that's pre-season, and so that's quite fun because you're playing. I don't like pre-seasons where you play loads of big clubs. I think, like, if you're trying to bed in players, it's better to play the clubs around you. And so in your group, you tend to have one. If you're a top tier team, you tend to have another top tier team with you, and then a couple of teams from the tier below, and then a couple of non-league teams in your group, which is quite fun. So you play that, and then if you win, you go to the knockout rounds, which are played in sort of, from what I can tell, like September, October, November kind of time. And so it's like a pre-season cup, but if you get to the latter stages, you're going quite well. But obviously, if you are a team like Dundee United, this season we got out of our group really comfortably, and then our run to the final wasn't too bad. Unfortunately, we did lose to St Mirren, which we discovered, which again is one of the joys of playing quite far ahead in the game world. We discovered they had a player called Kevin that we used to have at Nottingham Forest, and we sold to them, and Kevin will not stop scoring against me. It's doing my head in. But yeah, they knocked us out, unfortunately. But like, you only need to kind of win a one-off game against Celtic or avoid Celtic, and that feels like a winnable cup. And then now we've also then gone into the main kind of Scottish Cup, and I think I've got a quarter-final against Aberdeen to play. Unfortunately, Celtic, Rangers and St Mirren, Kilmarnock are still in that. But again, like, it feels winnable, because, you know, Celtic and Rangers could knock each other out, and, you know, when you've got that kind of odds each year, you know, you've got 2 chances each year of Celtic, Rangers playing each other, and then you obviously are probably going to end up playing Celtic or Rangers at some point, or in this case Kilmarnock, but you can fluke a victory against them. And towards the end of the Hamburg save, that was happening with Bayern Munich as well. Like, we got like 1 or 2 draws, and then of course we did sort of to divert away all the way back to Hamburg, we did in the end get to the Pokal final. And I'm not spoiling it because I have a YouTube video that I want people to watch. But yes, I have a video of us in the Pokal final if you want to see how we got on against Dortmund. And by Dortmund, I mean Bayern Munich. I'm very tired. Yes. So, yeah, it's quite fun. I'm actually really enjoying Scotland. I've always been told, like, avoid Scotland, it's really miserable. And I don't know if it's because it is 2038, but I'm not finding it miserable. I think maybe if I'd have taken a non-league club up there, it probably would be miserable. But I suppose because I've recently taken over a club that has won the Conference League, it's got like that rep boost that's making it not seem too difficult.
I mean, Scotland's a weird one, isn't it? I think it's a really fun league. Like, I mean, I can almost guarantee Neil's listening to this, and I give him stick in your Twitch chat all the time, don't I, about the Scottish League, about how it's all Celtic, Rangers, is boring, but Scotland is a cracking league, and he's going to remind me that I've said this on the podcast now. He knows the truth. But yeah, I mean, I'm particularly a big fan of like the Scottish lower leagues. It's quick seasons, isn't it? The smaller leagues, the quick seasons, and the kind of the quick turnarounds, if that makes sense. I quite like that kind of 12 teams in a league. I quite like that kind of congested feel in it. But I'm intrigued to see how you get on. Get on that YouTube.
Yeah, go watch the YouTube video. It's good. If you like the Europa Conference League music, I edited it in about 17 different times. I got a copyright strike on my video banned in Russia for that, but there you go. I didn't actually get a copyright strike. I got that warning of be careful now. But yes, no, it's worth it. It's worth it. That Conference League music is worth it.
Just for that music alone, it's controversial take. Much better than Champions League music.
It's so much is. I do still like the Champions League music because of what it means, like the memories of hearing that as a child. But yeah, the Conference League music is so much better. But yeah, no, looking forward to that. Yeah. A little bit of me. I guess it's because we're getting to the end of this journey save. Like it's kind of like I've been at 10 clubs now. A little bit of me is like, oh, do I just stay here for 4 seasons and try and win the league? I'm not sure. I need to think about it. If I get bored, I'll move on. But right now, I'm like, let's take them. Let's take them out.
Yeah, that little kind of carrot dangled in front of you is kind of an incentive, isn't it? But especially if you're in, I don't know the ins and outs, but if you're in a position to do so.
I feel like it. The game, I mean, that's the interesting thing again about being in the future is that I feel like Celtic, with the team that they have at the start of the save and the players that they've got, are so much stronger than the league. But having had, I don't know how many seasons, it'll be like 16, 17 seasons now, of Celtic making bad AI signings and all the other teams making a similar level of signing and youth players coming through. You know, every one of those teams in Scotland has 1 or 2 decent homegrown players now. And Celtic, you know, they've got more money, so they're obviously going to do better, but their ability to sign the best players, and they've obviously also been wobbled by Kilmarnock having that takeover and then being able to go out and poach players from them for ridiculously high wages and stuff like that. It definitely feels like it's a much more fun version of Scotland than real life because Celtic just don't feel unbeatable. Come back to me in 3 seasons' time where I've lost like 3 cup finals to them and I'll be like, I hate Celtic so much. But right now I'm like, yeah, they're beatable. They're beatable.
We got faith in you, JM. We know you're not going to lose 3 finals to Celtic. Piece of cake for you.
Well, we did manage. I lost 6-1 in the first game against them in the league, but then 0-0 in the second one. So we're improving. It's 1-0 next time to us, surely.
There you go. You're beating. Is it twice you play him in a season, or is it 3 times? You beat him next time, right? You're on an upward trajectory.
It'll be 3 times because the league splits, and then you play everyone again. So it's twice in the first phase of the season, home and away, and then it'll be once more, I think, when the league splits, which I haven't got to yet. So one thing I thought that this episode is kind of like an interesting one because we're talking about saves when they go stale, but we're also talking about you and your road to legend. What is that what they call it? Road to legend? A 1 club save?
Road to glory.
Road to glory, there we go. Why did I say road to legend? I probably think of non-league to legend with Beluga. But I would like to know if you can cast your mind back how that went season by season and what some of the key players are, because there'll be people who have also doing a 1 club save, taking a National League or a non-league club to the Premier League, and what are the kind of the players that you've had along the way that you have a soft spot for that have helped drive you up those leagues?
Notts County were lucky enough right at the start to have an incredible strike force. I think I'm going to butcher his name. Makaloli Langstaff. It's along them lines. He played for Notts County in real life, and he was with me up until I think the Championship, all the way from the Vanarama National. So he was the boy for probably the first to get us to our first 3 promotions. Other players. Arthur Okonkwo, who's a young goalkeeper. I think he's at Arsenal in real life. You can usually sign him on loan pretty early. He kind of picked us up from Championship onwards. I think he signed for us in our last season in League One, and he was our goalkeeper all the way up until the Premier League. He got replaced after a couple of seasons in the Premier League, but those 2 were the 2 that kind of really stick out. Honourable mentions: Jimmy J Morgan. He's another one that you can pick up quite early on, perhaps on loan. I want to say Chelsea, the Chelsea youngster. He does a huge job. He's a very, very good Championship player. Kind of, if he develops well, he can be Premier League. But you can usually at the start of your save, you can probably pick him up in League One on loan. Yeah, I've kind of really hammered the loan signings, really. Just trying to think. I've got the save up open in front of me, and I'm trying to pick out players that I've had down the years. But yeah, those 3 are the main ones that kind of were our driving forces in our teams. Matty Longstaff was another one. Matty Longstaff. How did I forget with Matty Longstaff? Signed him in League Two, and he was with us all the way up until the Championship. I think he's available on a free quite early on.
He's a player that like I associate with, I guess in previous FMs maybe he developed more, but like I wouldn't associate with him as a player you'd pick up in League Two.
Yeah, we signed we signed him in season 2 on a free from Newcastle. I think in the first season of your save, if you start a save fresh up, he's on loan at Mansfield, because I think he was on loan at Mansfield in real life last year. But he helped us get promoted a couple of times. He was pretty much a mainstay for 5 or 6 seasons. But our rise was our teams were always constantly turning over, because we did rise up the leagues I should say, pretty quick. I'm gonna have a quick look to see how quickly it was. I don't think we hung around in a league for longer than a couple of seasons until we got to the Premier League. Maybe we were in the Championship for 3 years, but we didn't hang about too long, so the teams had to kind of constantly evolve to get that step up. Because as I said earlier, wasn't one for the youngsters to kind of develop them as they go, so they can make the step up with us. I was very much right, being promoted, see you guys, I'm just going to buy a new team by those 3 or 4 that I've mentioned. So I was always wheeling and dealing my way up, so there's no real strong narratives. Again, the FM purists are going to hate me for this. The fact that there is not one mainstay in the team that goes up with you. Your Kyle Hudlins of the hot potato save, for example, you can just score goals at every division. But yeah, other than those 3 or 4, there wasn't really any that stayed the whole way through.
I think that's okay. I mean, it's probably a more efficient way to play than the sentimental keeping hold of the players. Although it sounds like you won't be doing a youth-only save anytime soon.
Yeah, not my cup of tea. That I'm definitely certain I'm not a youth development kind of guy.
Is there not a little bit of you that if you see a player you used to own doing really well later down the line that you're like, that was my boy?
That may be something that develops now. I think that's probably what I'm intrigued. The second aspect of this kind of change going into Belgium with Saint-Gilloise is keeping an eye on Notts County and looking at all the young players I signed. I mean, there's a lot of 18, 19, 20-year-olds that have the potential to, if they develop really well, can be elite. But I'm quite intrigued to follow their careers. So as much as I want to do the whole fixing Saint-Gilloise and other historic clubs and turn it into a journeyman, I am quite intrigued to look at where Notts County go with the young players that they've got. Do they sell them? If they do, where do they go? So I am quite intrigued by that, and it's going to be something that's quite new for me, because I've not really done a journeyman or I've not moved about. So that I see it as a massive learning curve for FM20, what are we now? 23. FM24, do I want to do our journeymans for me? Do I want to stick to the road to glory? So it's very much, from a personal aspect, kind of experimenting to find out how I relate to the game and what gives me the most out of it, if that makes sense.
Interesting, and definitely something I think some of the listeners will be able to relate to is that kind of trying different things. And it's interesting, you can play the game for years and then you have a different experience with it because you approach it from a different angle.
I started playing FM in the pandemic. I think I played a Championship Manager once, like way back when. I started playing FM in the pandemic, and it was actually Lelujo on YouTube, and I started the star ratings. I was all star ratings because that's Lelujo's thing, isn't it? And that was all I'd ever seen. And then as I got into the kind of Twitch community and your streams, and people were starting to look like properly at attributes and the pros and cons and all the traits and things like that, I started to learn more about the game. I kind of got funneled down this channel to where, like, oh, you have to buy the young kids, you have to make sure it hasn't got this pros and cons, so play it the textbook way that most people talk about. And it's only kind of probably this year, a couple of FMs later, I'm going, well, hang on a minute, let's just do something a bit not typical of an FM player, if that makes sense, because I don't think I get the enjoyment out of the game quite the same as probably the majority of people would. So I'm kind of exploring different avenues. And if you are, I'd say to anyone listening, if you are struggling with an FM edition, you can't get into a save, or you just can't find something that suits you, just try lots of different ones, because you will stumble on one that kind of tickles your fancy and you will get into it, I promise you. But just try different avenues, try different ways of playing the game. You will find one that suits you eventually.
Absolutely, and I just want to give a shout to if you are in that situation and you haven't come across FMLlama, who's actually, most of his videos now are on a YouTube channel called The Manager's Seat. He gives you so many different ideas of, like, you could do this club for this reason, or this club for this reason, or you could do this club and just sign players over 30, or this club only lets you sign players of this nationality or whatever. Like, there are so many different ways to play it if you are one of these people that is like, you know what, I've done a big club every year or I've done Glory Hunter for 3 years and I'm bored, or I always take the National League job and I just want to try something different. I guess this is the podcast about trying stuff different.
Yeah, 100%. And you go back to my Belenenses save, I stumbled across a YouTube video of a Scottish YouTuber who went and he didn't go to a game, he just did like the backstory of the club, and it was, again, no point going into too much detail, but there was like a split between two clubs. It was all a bit political, etc., etc. One got relegated all the way down, kept all the history. I was like, wow, keeping that history, moving it up. So I suppose that's where I get my kick, is taking clubs with history and restoring them to the top again. Again, the history nerd in me there, but you can get your kind of inspiration from anywhere. I got mine from YouTube for that save. I got mine from your podcast for this save. Mm-hmm. So you can stumble across inspiration anywhere. It's just exploring and finding something.
Wonderful. And in 30 seconds, before we wrap the podcast up, what's your first impressions of your new club then? What are the main challenges and advantages there?
Well, I've literally just looked through it. The fact that I've got probably 10 players 32 or older is probably the challenge. See, I've spent all podcast moaning about how I don't like youth development, and now I'm complaining that I've got 10 players 32 and older. So I've contradicted myself completely, but yeah, just making that squad kind of younger, reducing that average age a little bit to around about the 26, 27 mark.
Interesting. And what league are they in at the moment?
So they're, I didn't actually mention that. They're in the top division of the Belgian leagues, the Jupiler League, and they're sitting around mid-table. But I think Union Saint-Gilloise are the team in real life that are in Europe, I believe. Well, they were in Europe last season, I think, and they were like shocking everyone. I think they got to the knockouts of the Europa League, I think it was. So they were in the headlines, but they're sitting in mid-table. They're not in money problems. They've got the potential to be champions, I think, soon enough.
Well, all fun and games. I wish you the very best of luck with that.
Thank you very much, and best of luck for you at Dundee.
Thank you, Dundee United.
Oh, sorry, Neil. I've done it again. Dundee United.
I will say that is one of the things that I've learned. Is like they are so touchy about that. Why? I mean, we're going way off topic here, but why would you have one club called Dundee and one club called Dundee United, and then not be surprised when people get them confused? I love you guys, you Dundee United people, but it's very confusing. You've got to forgive people for getting that one wrong. But thank you for joining me today, Gashead. It's been a real pleasure.
Pleasure's all mine.
Is there anything you want to plug before you go?
JM. Honestly, I'm a regular in his streams, so I see what's going on. But if you, I'm sure there's links down in the description. But JM's YouTube, JM's Twitch, get on it, 'cause it is good fun and there's a cracking community while you're there.
Oh, thank you. I'll send you the check later. What a nice chap Gashead was there. Someone who I'm used to seeing in text chats across various Twitch streams and Discords, sharing his thoughts there on the podcast about Football Manager, and hopefully something that you found interesting. Thank you very much for listening. We've had over 100 listens, which means a lot. If you do think somebody would enjoy the podcast, please do share it with them, or like us, or rate us on Spotify. I say us, it's just me and the guests. I edit it as best I can to get it out on a Friday, but it's all in good fun. And I'll put links to everything we've mentioned in the podcast in the chat. But there's nothing else to say really than go well. I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any ratings or you tweet us or whatever else, it's at JMThoughts on Twitter. In fact, I think it's at JMThoughtsFM on Twitter. I'm not calling it X, I'm calling it Twitter. And also JMThoughts on Twitch and YouTube, I believe. I'm very tired. I've not been very well recently. If you haven't seen, that's why there was no episode last week. But there is an episode this week. There hopefully will be an episode next Friday as well. And hopefully you are doing well. And hopefully you do go well, friends.